So you want to make an impact. You're thinking about starting a business, sharing your voice. How do women do it that handle motherhood, family, and still chase after those dreams? Well, listen each week as we dive into the stories of women who know. This is Call Me CEO. Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Call Me CEO. And this is an episode I've been looking forward to recording for a while. Ashleigh Di Lello. I was so nervous about saying your last name right that I messed up your first name. Okay. Ashleigh Di Lello is here with us today, and she is such a beautiful person inside and out. And we are going to dive into how she can help you heal your body with your mind, which is something that she's done more than once. And I can't wait for you to hear her story because I recently saw her present at an event and my jaw was just to the floor of everything you've been through. Oh my gosh. And that you are the creator of bio-emotional healing, which she has trademarked, and it's made just by her, and it's unique to her in a way of using neuroscience to heal your body, which is incredible. So thank you so much for being here today.
I'm so excited to be here. Thank you. And I want to emphasize also use your mind to heal your mind, right? Mm-hmm. Because we have more mental, emotional issues, and struggles that are happening at an unprecedented rate in our entire history. So your mind is so powerful, both for what's happening in your mind, but also, of course, and through my journey, what's happening in your body.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. That's a whole topic that I'm like, yes, we need to dive into this. And before we go down that beautiful path, we're going to fangirl for a moment because you were on So You Think You Can Dance with your husband. Was it season 6? Is that what
I know. 6? It was. It seems a long time ago now.
Let's just say those were the golden years of So You Think You Can Dance, because I feel like after they changed the format and things, I don't know, it just wasn't as good. You got in there right when things were in their sweet spot. Tell us about how you met your husband. I know that was before the competition, but your journey is just so fun. And I'm such a fan of you and your tryout. I just rewatched it, which is kind of weird and funny, but man, just going through the process of trying out and the way that they talk to you, I'm like, you have to have a mind of steel, girlfriend. Like, it's scary.
Gosh, we could talk about so much in that because it is a TV show. The dancing is real, but a lot of the rest is manipulated because it's entertainment, right? So we could talk a whole hour.
That's we need to do an episode just for that.
It's funny because now it's back, which is great. But my episode's been so long ago. I mean, I can talk about it. But they get to know you prior to even you get on stage. They have people just to kind of get familiar with you. So of course they knew. My husband and I, we were married, right? Which is rare. And no married couple had ever made the show, and they haven't since we were on it. Because obviously it's kind of rare to have two people that both can be versatile and have a personality. And, anyone named Ashleigh was my competition. Anyone from my husband named Ryan was his competition. I mean, there's just such a different million factors of how you can make, 1 of 10 spots for a female, 1 of 10 for a male. And that was at the height. So I think there was something like 10,000 people that year that auditioned. So obviously your odds are pretty slim, and there's so many talented people in the world, and so many other factors. So they kind of set us up from the beginning. I think they had an idea we could go far potentially. And so they wanted to make it more dramatic. And so Ryan and I were the first ones to dance in Salt Lake City. So all the competitors were there, and we were the very first ones on stage.
Wow.
And prior to when we go on, Nigel Lithgow says, you know what, I know you're ballroom dancers and you're used to looking at each other, but we are here in front of you, the judges and the audience, and I want you making eye contact with us throughout the whole dance. I'm not kidding. This is not on film, right? So my husband and I are looking at each other like, that's not what we do. Like, of course we engage with our audience, but ballroom dancers engage with each other, right? That's that chemistry. So literally as we're about to dance, he says that, and it throws me off. Like I'm actually not a huge fan of that audition tape because the floor was so slippery, and it just threw me off what we normally did.
Mhm.
And then we dance, and they're like, "Man, you guys just barely looked at each other." They're like, "You didn't really have chemistry." If you watch me closely and you know me well, I'm trying so hard to control my face and be like, "Are you kidding me? You set us up." Like,
oh my gosh.
so anyhow, there was so much more from that because, then it was drama. And when I was on the show, they kept saying, "Oh, I think you have more chemistry with your partner than your husband." It was just a storyline, but nonetheless, it was the most amazing experience for sure.
Wow. Those are the behind the scenes tips that you don't know about unless you know someone who's been in that situation where they really do try to weave in a story that's like has nothing to do with the actual process. It's like the drama piece. So I appreciate you sharing that because geez, that they were pretty rough on you on that tryout. I'm really sorry.
No, it's okay. And they were through Vegas week 2, and they completely manipulated the story of me making the show. But all of that was to create drama. And
Yeah.
when you sign the contract to do the show, you literally sign your right away. You obviously can control what you say on camera and what you do, but they're so good at creating whatever story,
whatever narrative they want.
Yeah, so I had to sometimes sit in interviews and say, "Nope, I'm not going to say that," because the producers would try to feed a certain narrative to put you in a certain and thankfully I was older and I realized that quickly. So I was more apt to stand up and say, "No, I would never say that because that's not my personality," because they have to have enough different personalities going on. So yeah, that's the other side of the whole thing that you don't just see. But when we walk on stage, that is us, right? We have control over that, and you just had to, embrace that.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, it's no question that you have such a fierce amount of like knowing yourself and strong will. I mean, that's something where in your story we never saw, but as a child, you went through some major physical hardships that even led you to that point of being able to dance in a competitive format, let alone like a competition people are watching all over the world. Really, can you take us back and tell our audience about what happened in your youth and how that led into dance and expression and everything else you've done?
Yeah. I wanted to dance as soon as I came out of the womb. So it was just something I loved. And I'm so grateful for that because it did help save my life. Having something that I was so passionate about doing, and of course taught me some discipline and dedication really young. Because I started dancing 5 hours a day when I was 7, which now that I have an 8-year-old, I can't really even imagine. For me then it felt like what I wanted to do, and there was nothing weird about wanting to do that instead of playing, right? But I started doing that 5 hours a day, and that was such a huge part of my life, obviously, and what I loved. And my nickname was the Energizer Bunny because it was like I didn't ever seem to run out of energy. And I literally went from that type of living to overnight fighting for my life. And it's a long story, but to make it short, I was told that, first of all, he told me to accept that I most likely wouldn't live past my teenage years. But then if by some chance, very few experts gave me chance of survival, but those who did said I'd never be able to dance again, like never be able to endure those physical rigors, right, of where I had before. And that really was a defining moment for me. I remember the first time that happened, and they sent in a psychologist to tell me, to accept. I needed to come to acceptance that I was dying. And in that moment, I remember like, I can't even put to words, just sitting in that room and thinking, what happened to my life, right? It was so out of nowhere. And you're almost just like, this can't be my reality. Like this cannot be what my life has come down to. And then in that moment, I just mustered like the greatest strength and resilience that I had. And I really credit my mom to letting me respond, because I know, she was ready to jump in there, but she really let me kind of define what my experience would be. And I remember taking literally probably the biggest deep breath of my life and just looking at him and saying, I don't accept this. And that was the beginning of fighting for my life for over 4 years.